Hey guys, it's Adriel from Style Assisted and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a video about my favorite drugstore foundations because you guys have requested this over and over again, so I finally rounded up as many as I could find and I'm going to do sort of a try-on slash review with all swatches for you guys, so stick around. Okay, so if you've been to the drugstore lately, you know there are a lot of options for foundation, primers, concealers, etc., and it's a lot to take in. So what I've done is I've rounded up my favorites for you and I will let you know why they worked for me and why I like them. But keep in mind my skin tone is combination to oily in the summertime, in the winter it's combination dry. Isn't that so fun how it changes? So I'm gonna let you know everything based on my perspective of having some fairly combination to oily skin here in the summertime. So I will get into it, but there may be something that I don't like that didn't work for me that may work for you. So I'll let you know sort of the reasons and the rationale behind everything so that you can go out and find the perfect foundation for you. Now, if you wanted to know what the perfect foundation for fair skin, that is actually a separate video that I just filmed right before this. I will leave the link below for you guys if you'd like to go check that out, because fair skin, skin with freckles, pale skin, skin that gets red easily, sensitive skin, we have different issues than everybody else. So some foundations, while they may be awesome, are usually not light enough for us. So I did a specific video just for that if you guys want to check that out. If not, stick around and I'll show you all the ones I have. Alright, I'm going to go quickly through all the ones I have, and that way you can kind of fast forward to the one that you want to see if you don't want to stick around for all of them. Now there's a lot. The reason this video was later than I wanted it to be was because I was waiting for these to arrive. This is the L'Oreal Pro. We have the Pro Glow and the Pro Matte, and these are the infallible whatever. Anyway, these are the it foundation right now amongst all bloggers, and I've heard so much about them, but they're sold out everywhere. So I ordered them from Ulta. Ulta messed up my order. Ulta was late. I ordered it like 2.5 weeks ago. Just these two little suckers. Took forever for me to get. So, pros and cons. Pros, they look beautiful and amazing on. Cons, my skin is too oily for both of these. So, that doesn't work. The glow is glowing and fabulous, and if you guys want to see a swatch, it's actually pretty, well, it's not light, although I'm sure it'd be light on you guys because everything's lighter on everybody else. So the Pro Glow is basically a full coverage foundation. Can you even see that? It helps when I swatch so the camera can actually see it. It looks light, but it's too dark for me. So the Glow is a little bit lighter than the matte, as you would obviously expect. The matte is matte. And Glow usually involves a little more sheen, but the matte dries very, very matte, and the Glow dries very, very glowy. They both would work if you have almost pale skin or normal shaded skin, but they stayed on pretty well, but they oxidize, they start out lighter, they get darker as they dry. So if they had stayed the same color when they first come out of the bottle, they would have worked for me. But they both do what they're supposed to do. They both stay, well, the matte stays matte, the Glow is glowy, and does give a very, very luminous glow to their face. Now, another one that is a huge favorite right now is also the Velvet Matte that I believe is Maybelline. Yes, I've tried it, I can't find it, but it is similar to this and has more of a moussey texture, and I actually prefer that to this. So I would try the Dream Matte Mousse over this specifically, but as far as glow, this is a fabulous, fabulous product. If you guys are looking for something a little glowy and just to have some lit from within foundation, this is going to be your best bet. If you need something that will stay put and look good in pictures and not be crazy ridiculous halfway through your workday, you're looking at the Revlon Color Stay. I have it in the color 110, which is ivory, and I also have it in the color 150 buff. Depending upon if I've used self-tanner or not, this one usually works for me all day, every day. This is the one I use when I have a little bit of tanner on my face. I love them. This is the older version. The newer one comes in a pump. I have oily to combination skin, but they do make normal to dry skin for you if you're not an oily person. I love these. I can't say enough about them. I have very, very high marks for these guys. For everyone, if you want Summer proof makeup, I highly suggest a mineral foundation, and this L'Oreal True Match Mineral is my favorite holy grail drugstore foundation, the end. It's light. Sometimes it's not light enough for me to wear if I don't have a little bit of self-tanner on, but it blends really easily, and this sucker does not fade. I can sweat, I mean, it's not like I can put it on underwater and it won't come off. I mean, it comes off eventually, but it lasts longer than anything else. So this is my holy grail drugstore foundation. I'm obsessed with it. It makes you look airbrushed. If you want something that stays put but you don't like powder foundation, I would go for the Color Stay. If you are a person that has a problem finding a foundation that actually matches your skin tone, I would do either the L'Oreal True Match or the Maybelline Fit Me. These come in a wide range of shades, and they come in cool, warm, and neutral tones. The only issue with these is these are not as full coverage as I would like. Sometimes, I said this in my last video, but I'm one of those people that if I'm putting on foundation, I'm putting on foundation. I don't usually just put on a little bit of foundation and leave the house. If I'm putting on makeup, I'm putting on makeup, because it's all sort of the same to me. You can even put on a lot or put on a little. These are great for people if you want something to just even out your skin tone, but I have dark circles underneath my eyes, and so if I do this, then I have to do concealer and everything anyway. But these are the go-to if you really, really have a hard time finding a shade that matches you. In products that I was surprised by, the e.l.f. Flawless Finish Foundation actually comes out in not quite a moussey texture, but as you can see the dollop, it's sticking up. It is full coverage. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I love it. Only drawback is there's not a lot of shades of this, but man alive, I really, really love this foundation. It feels really, really nice on the skin. You can blend it in really easily. I like to use a damp sponge, but I really had a good experience with this. Now, I am that person that I always set all of my foundation if I've used a full coverage with setting spray, because if you have a full coverage on and it starts to move at all, it's noticeable because there's more makeup on your face because it's full coverage. So I really, really like this. As you can tell, one side has freckles, one side no longer. I mean, you can see the difference. It's full coverage. It's fantastic. I really, really liked this one, and I was surprised by it when I got it. Now, as far as a disappointment, the e.l.f. Moisturizing Foundation Stick, this is the lightest shade. Does this look like a light shade to you guys? No. Okay, so if I put it on, I mean, it's pretty thick and pretty intense. Now, it's full coverage, but I can't even put this on my skin because it's too thick. So I was not a huge fan of this, in case you guys wanted to know, and I always get makeup on my black cases. I have a struggle. But not a big fan of this e.l.f. Love this e.l.f. And this is beautiful glass bottle. I mean, it feels like a really expensive foundation with the packaging. So e.l.f. did a really good job with that. This was a miss. I was not a big fan, especially for the summertime, because you don't want thick, heavy makeup in the summertime. Even all of the foundations that are full coverage that I recommended earlier are not this thick, so I would pass on this. Alright, products that I did not have good luck with at all is these two Rimmel products. I have the Rimmel Stay Matte Mousse in Light Porcelain, which is in fact a mousse, and it's very similar to the Dream Matte Mousse by Maybelline, which I like and I would highly suggest, but it's not light enough. This is very, very beautiful on, but it did not stay on, even with a primer, even with an expensive primer. This moved all over the place. So if you guys want a light whipped air type foundation, you could definitely try this. But for me, it was too dark and it didn't stay in place, which is super, super matte. Annoying, and it didn't stay matte. I mean, it's called Stay Matte. It says it right there on the bottle. It did not stay matte, so lies. Next up is the Rimmel Radiance 9-in-1 Skin Perfecting Makeup. Anytime it's like 9-in-1, I'm like, really? 9 things in one? So the lightest shade is laughable. Yeah, it's called Light. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I mean, in what world is that a light color? This is probably a Barbie color. Like literally, if I picked up a Barbie, it would be this color. It's terrible. It's too dark. I guarantee you it doesn't do the 9 things that it says that it does. I'm like, can you just do like 2 things well instead of doing 9 things sort of halfway? Because I'm just not a fan of that. I'm trying to wipe all this off my hand. But regardless, neither stayed. Even with expensive primer, even with setting spray, it moved. So if you're going to do a matte or a mousse, I would try the Dream Matte Velvet. And if you, the other one, if you want a 9-in-1, I would try something else because this was not amazing. Also, the CoverGirl Stay Luminous Outlast is supposed to be dewy, but it cannot hold the candle to the Pro Glow. So instead of doing this, I would definitely do this, personally. Okay, now on to concealers. I have 2 that I was not a big fan of, and I have 1 that I love, but the one that I love I can't find, so I'll just tell you guys what it is. I've used it, and I'm sure it's in one of my purses, but I wanted to get this filmed for you guys ASAP, and I didn't want to hunt for it. So, the absolute biggest disappointment is this Rimmel. I'm not a big Rimmel fan today. Match Perfection. It's the kind that has the little brush, so you squeeze it. And if you guys watched my video tutorial, I can get it out. It's just weird. I'm not a huge fan. It is pretty light, but it's not light enough. It is not my favorite thing. I do not particularly enjoy it, and I wouldn't really recommend it. It didn't stay, and it was just too... It's supposed to be similar to like the YSL, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. And I've heard other people say that there are other things that work better instead of this specifically. So the Rimmel, not so much. This, on the other hand, I've had a ton of people recommend, and they said it's very similar to the NARS Creamy Concealer, and they even do it in the exact same packaging. Now, this is the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in the shade 10, and once again, you guys know I talk about how laughable their lightest shades are? Remember I said Barbie? Similar. Too dark right there. It's too dark, but if you do have darker skin, this is a fantastic concealer. It's very buildable, it's very creamy, it's inexpensive, and I hear it stays really well. I just don't keep it on long enough to see because obviously it's not in my shade, but lots of people have recommended this and love this, so if you guys are in the hunt for a drugstore foundation and concealer, the Fit Me in both is really, really good. My absolute favorite that I don't have to show you guys is the NYX concealer. I will insert a picture of it here. Okay, now that you see the picture that I've inserted, the reason that I love it is because it is light. It is not quite as light as my creamy concealer from NARS in the color Chantilly, but it's close. So, if you guys need a drugstore, that is by far the lightest drugstore concealer that you can purchase. And as always, I will link everything down below so that you guys have access to get everything. Even if you can't find it in your store, you can order it online. I am obsessed, and that's why I can't find it, because it's in one of my bags somewhere because I've been using it. It's great, and I hope you guys go and try it if you have fair skin. Okay guys, when it comes to applying my makeup, I have been super, super obsessed with using a damp sponge. The best one you can find at the drugstore is the Real Techniques sponge. These are, I think, $6 for one, and you basically get it wet, like really, 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 really wet. Not just damp, really, really wet, and then you squeeze all the water possible just using your hand, and then use that to apply. I use the flat part to apply all over my face, and then I use the point, or sometimes the very edge of this, to do underneath my eyes and around my nose. I love this thing. It is totally worth the money, and it's much better than the $20 beauty blender that you can buy. I'm sorry, I know, but I like this one. I think that it's perfect, and it doesn't absorb a ton of product either. e.l.f. makes a similar one that comes in white, I think, and you get a trio, like a small, medium, and a large, but it absorbs a lot of product, and I just felt like I was wasting a lot of foundation when I was using it. So this is hands down my favorite to apply makeup that you can get from the drugstore. Alright, when it comes to powders, I have 3 favorites. The Rimmel Stay Matte Powder is actually pretty decent. I liked it a lot. This is in the shade Transparent. That doesn't really look transparent, but regardless, it worked. I liked it. My favorite for under eye setting is the Fit Me 110. This is actually pale enough to set my under eyes without making it darker. There are a lot of colored powders that the second I set my under eyes, they oxidize and all of a sudden I have like yellow circles underneath my eyes. This comes in a lot of different shades and it is the only thing I've found that is light enough for my fair skin. And I love it. It's fantastic. Last but not least, if you want to bake your face, if you want to make your face bulletproof and you don't want any of your makeup to move whatsoever, I highly suggest baking or cooking your makeup using a translucent powder. My favorite translucent powder, and has been for years, is the e.l.f. translucent powder. Now, I would open this, but it's gonna fly everywhere. And I'm in a black jumpsuit, so I don't really want tiny little white particles all over me. But this stuff, you basically take your wet beauty blender or makeup sponge of any kind. Yes, wet, I know, it sounds weird. And you dab it in and get a lot of it on, and you just dab it under your under eyes so it's super cakey, and then just leave it there for 10 to 15 minutes and then brush it away with a brush lightly and it will stay. This is the only one I found that is translucent and finely milled enough that doesn't look cakey or weird after the fact. The expensive version, the Laura Mercier powder or the Dior powder, both work extremely well, but for drugstore, or even before the Laura Mercier or the Dior, this is a fantastic bet. It also comes in a pressed version, but when I'm using translucent powder, it's usually to bake or cook my makeup so that it stays on for a really long time, and this cannot be beat. It's so fantastically just efficient. I love it, and it's only like $3. It's the best. I'm doing this and I'm watching little puffs of it fly off into the light. That's fantastic. It does get everywhere, as does all translucent powder, so just don't wear black stuff or wait to change into your clothes before you do it because it'll get everywhere. And last but not least, as far as primers, the NYX primer that actually looks a lot like the Smashbox, it looks exactly like this. It's in a green tube. They have pore minimizing. I use the green color correcting because, like I said, I have redness around and the green counteracts that. I love that. That is super, super inexpensive and it works quite well. And then as far as eye primer, this is the e.l.f. eye primer and I love this. It works really, really well for a $3 primer. $3? $1? It's not very expensive. And it's about the exact same. It's basically a dupe for the Urban Decay, where is it? Eye Potion? And I totally just blanked on the name. The Urban Decay eye primer that is the best in the entire world. This is a close second. I use this every single day just to make sure that my eye makeup doesn't move because my eyelids get a little bit oily year round, and then I have that transfer of either mascara or eyeliner onto the top of my lids. You guys know when you have the lines or you have like a little mark from your eye makeup and it's super annoying and no one tells you, so you walk around for like 6 hours with it on. Okay, not 6 hours, I'm exaggerating, but I've done it for a few hours. So I'm like, no one wants to tell me I have like raccoon eyes going on. Oh, it's the worst. So this stuff I love, and it's inexpensive enough to use every single day. It's inexpensive enough to use every single day and throw against the room if you want to. You can just throw it everywhere because you can replace it if it breaks. Alright guys, that is everything. That is my favorite drugstore foundations that I'm loving right now. If you guys have any comments, any questions, or there's a product that I left out that you want to review for another time, just let me know. You guys can always go say hi on Instagram or Twitter, which is @StyleAssisted. I will leave a link to my blog below. It's styleassisted.com. And you can go say hi over on Snapchat. It is @AdrielPage. I know, I need to change it to @StyleAssisted. I'm lazy. But what are you gonna do? But I hope that was helpful for you guys. If you have a question about any of the products that I've used, or you wanna hear about my super awesome life-changing product that I've said every single fair woman needs in her makeup bag, go check out my last video about drugstore products for fair skin. Until the next time, you guys have a great rest of your day. I love you. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and give this video a thumbs up. And I will see y'all in my next video. Bye! But I love this detailing. I love straw for summer. Absolutely obsessed with it. This one has the adorable detailing. It has black on the bottom, which I don't know if you guys have thought about this before, but if you get a regular straw purse and you put it down at all, it gets dirty around the edges. The geniuses put black leather on the bottom so it can't get dirty as easily, which, you know, I love some ingenuity in my design.